Hi guys, you're welcome to Guide Academy. In this video, we are going to look at the fastest trick to solve simultaneous equations. Our preamble says we should solve the following simultaneous equations. So our first equation will be 2x plus 5y is equal to 9 and 2x plus 3y is equal to 7. To solve these two simultaneous equations, we can label our equations as equation 1 and equation 2. Now, to solve these equations, first of all, we have to locate our two variables. Our two variables are x and y. Now, when you look at equation 1 and 2, you realize that our x variable is our first term in both equations. So in this case, you can see that we have an expression in x in the first equation, which is our first term, and an expression in x in the second equation, which is also 2x. Now, what we are going to do is that we are going to say that, okay, if since our first term in both equations is x, we are going to have it as x is equal to an expression. Now, to find the expression that x is equal to, we need to locate our terms in y in both equations. Our term in y in both equations is 5y and then 3y. So we can pick either of the terms. So let's say we take the first term in the first equation, which is the 5y. What we are going to do is that we're going to take the coefficient of the y, which is 5, and then multiply it by 7. Okay. So we'll take this to 7. So it means that 5 times 7 is still 35 minus, they will take the 9 times the 3. So 3 times 9, which is 27. Right. So as time goes on, you are going to notice the trend. So we'll be fine. All over. Then we look at the same expression in y that we started from. We started from 5 times 7. So it means that we'll go back to 5 and then multiply 5 by the coefficient here, which in this case 5 times 2 give us 10. Minus, we take the next, which is a 3y, and then we'll also multiply it by what is here. So 3 times 2, which gives us 6. So it means that clearly 35 minus 27 will give us 8. And then 10 minus 6 will give us 4, which means our x is equal to what? 2. So once we have find our value of x, it means that to find y, we can substitute the value of 2 into either of the equations. So let's say we substitute x into equation 1, our first equation. It means that we can have 2 into bracket our value of x, which is what? 2, plus 5y is equal to what? 9. 2 times 2 is what? 4, plus 5y is equal to what? 9. And we can say that, okay, 5y is equal to what? 9 minus 4. Definitely we can say that our 5y is equal to 9 minus 4, which is what? 5. Then we can divide both sides by 5. This cancels this cancels this one, and we have our value of y to be what? 1. So that's the easiest way to solve this simultaneous equations. So now let's look at another way. You see, for this particular way, we took the 5 as our first multiplication factor, and then multiply by 7 to get 35. Now let's say we are taking our 3 as our first multiplicative index. Okay, so let's clean the side. We are just cleaning the side. We are going to leave this. Going to leave this. I'm going to leave this side there, right? So let's also erase this side as well. Let's erase our equations and let's write the equations. So our equation was 2x plus 5y is equal to 9, and 2x plus 3y is equal to 7. So now let's solve this equation. So we have already established the fact that first of all we are going to look at our terms. Which one comes first? You know that a term in x comes first, a term in x comes first in the second what equation. So you're going to say that then x will be equal to. Then our next step is to establish which of the terms we are going to use. So the first case we used 5 first. Now this time we are going to pick 3y first. Okay. If we pick 3y first, it means that we'll multiply our 3 by our 9, right? 3 by 9, which gives us 27. Minus, then we'll take 3 by 9. Then we'll come and take 5 by 7, which gives us 35. 35. Then we'll come and pick. Now this time, our denominator will not be 5 times 7, 5 times 2 to give us 10. But rather we'll come back to the term in y that we picked, which in this case is the coefficient of y 3. So we'll come and say that okay, then 3 times what 2 should give us what 6 minus the next terms 5 times 2, which is just what 10. In this case we can have 27 minus 35 giving us negative 8, and then 6 minus 10 to give us negative 4. And we know that our negatives will cancel, and then 4 will go into itself 1 and go into here 2. It becomes what 2. So it means that both methods have given us the same value of x, which is 2. And then in this case we can now substitute 2 into either of our equations to get the value of what y to be 1, right? So that's how we solve simultaneous equations. This actually is around the topics on matrices, okay, using Cramer's rule to solve matrices very fast. Okay, good. So now let's look at our second question so that we better understand and better appreciate whatever we are studying. Okay, so our second equation will be 3x plus 4y is equal to 23, and 2x minus 4y is equal to what 2. Okay, now to solve these equations, let's establish this as equation 1, equation 2. So our value of x, since x is the first term in both equations, we are going to the x is equal to, we are going to take one of the terms. In this case I'll take the first one, which is 4y. Okay, the coefficient of 4y, the coefficient of y in this expression or this term 4y is 4. So 4 times 2 give us 8, minus this multiplies as negative 4 times 23 gives us negative 92. Okay, all over. Then we'll come back, since we picked this term in y, we are going to pick it again to multiply a term here, which gives us what 4 times 2 8, minus, we'll multiply this by this, which gives us negative 4 times 3 to give us what negative 12. And we know that since we have two negatives, it will end up being positive and positive. So 8 plus 92 gives us 100, and 8 plus 12 gives us 20. And then we can have 20 going into itself 1 and going into 100 with 4 times 4, right? So it means that 5 a term in right. So we'll have 20, and then 20 will go into 100 how many times? 5 times. This means that our value for x is 5, and then from here we can come and substitute it into either of the equations. So in this case we will say substitute x into, we'll take equation 2. Okay, this is equation 2, so it means that 2 into bracket what 5 minus 4y is equal to 2. Then we can see that 10 minus 4y is equal to 2. Negative 4y is equal to 2 minus what 10. Then we can see negative 4y is equal to negative what? 8. If we have negative 8, then we can say that can divide both sides by negative 4 to find our value of y. Value of y is what? 2. Okay. So that's like the easiest way to solve simultaneous equations. Okay. I believe the understanding is coming. Let's solve a third example so that we better understand what we are doing. So our next question, which is question 3, will be, so we'll see 7x plus 2y is equal to 33, and then 4x plus 2y is equal to 24. So to solve the simultaneous equations very fast, we'll first of all take our first term. First term is an expression in what? X, which is 7x and 4x. We're going to take x to be equal to, we're going to take either of them. In this case, let's take this one first. Okay. We're going to multiply this by this to come in. We'll get 2 times 33 will give us 2 times 33 will give us 66, right? So it means that we'll get 666 minus, then we'll come and take this expression to multiply 2 times 24 will give us 48 all over. Since we started with this expression, it means that we're going to multiply this expression first with our coefficient of x, which is 7, to give us 40 minus our next, which is 4 times 2, which gives us what? 8. So in this case, we are going to get 66 minus 48 to be 18, and then 14 minus 8 will give us 6. And then from here, we know that 6 multiplying 3 will give us 18. It means that 6 will go into itself 1. We'll go into 18 3 times. It means that our value of x is what? 3. And then we can now substitute it into either of the equations. In this case, let's substitute into equation 1. Okay. So since our value of x is 3, we can say that 7 into bracket 3 plus 2y is equal to 33. Know that 7 multiplying 3 is 21 plus 2y is equal to 33. 2y is equal to 33 minus 21, right? So 33 minus 21. 2y will be equal to 12. And then we can divide both sides by 2, and we can say that y is equal to 6. So it means that the value of x and y are 3 and 6 respectively, right? So I believe this is also clear. So as you continue to practice it, it comes to your fingertips, and then anytime there's a question on simultaneous equations, you can even do it in 5 seconds, right? And even do it in 5 seconds. So we'll look at our fourth question. So our fourth question will be 10x plus y is equal to 29, and y plus 7x will be equal to 20. Okay, now this is our first equation, this is our second equation. So we need to ask ourselves, what are we finding first? What variable are we finding first? We check both. You realize that the first term here is in x, and then the second term is in what? Y, right? Now it means that we cannot say we are finding x and then use the trick to solve it. First of all, we have to arrange the equations such that the variable we want to find first will be the first term in both equations. Okay, so now we can say that, okay, let us put both equations in terms of x. So it means that we can say that, okay, then we can have this equation being the same, which is the equation 1, but our equation 2, we can bring the 7x in front and then come and say that, okay, 7x plus y is equal to what? 20, right? Equation 2. We have not done any changes to the equations. We have only changed the position of our terms or variables, right? So from here, then we can solve it and say, okay, then we are looking at solving x first. So x will be equal to, then means that we pick any of the terms in y. In this case, we can say we are picking this particular term, which is this particular term. Okay, then we'll multiply y by 20. Coefficient of y is 1. 1 by 20 is what? 20 minus, and then we'll come and multiply 29 by the expression in y, which is 1, comes 29 all over. Then we'll come back to the same variable or term that we took, multiply by 7. 1 by 7 is 7 minus, then we'll come and multiply this by the 10, which becomes what? 10. It means that we'll come and get 20 minus 29 to be negative 9, and 7 minus 10 to be negative 3. And then from here we can say our value of x is 3. Once we find our value of x, we can substitute into any of the equations, and then we find our value in y. So we can say, okay, substituting x into equation, let's say equation 1, we can say that, okay, now 10 into bracket our value of x, which is 3, plus y is equal to what? 29. 10 times 3 is 30, plus y is equal to 29, and then we can see that our y is equal to 29 minus 30, right, which becomes negative 1. It means that our value of x and y is 3 and negative 1 respectively, right? So that's how to solve simultaneous equations in the fastest and possible way. Let's look at our last question, and then we can call this a day and call it a day. All right, so our last question on this particular preamble will be 3x plus 2y is equal to 17, and 5x minus 2y is equal to 7. So to solve these equations, this equation 1, this is equation 2. We look at the terms, we realize that there's a term in x, which is 3x, first term. The next term is also 5x. It means that we have a variable that we want to look at first in as first terms in both equations. You get it? So from here, we can say, okay, then x will be equal to, we are going to take this term in y, which is 2y, over this negative 2. Okay, we're going to take this particular one. Okay, so we're going to take this one, multiply by this. So 2 times 7 becomes 14, minus negative 2 times 17 becomes negative 34 all over. Then we'll come back to the same expression in 2y, multiply by this. 2 times 5 becomes 10, minus negative 2 times 3, which becomes negative what? 6. And then we can say that 14, since we have negative negative, means it's positive. Negative negative positive means that 14 plus 34 is 48, and 10 plus 6 is 16, and 48 over 16 is 3. So it means our value of x is 3. From here we can see we are substituting the value of x into any of the equations. So let's pick equation 2. So it means that equation 2, this equation 2, it means that 5 to bracket 3 minus 2y is equal to 7. From here we can see that 15 minus 2y is equal to 7. From here, negative 2y will be equal to 7 minus 15. Negative 2y, 7 minus 15 is negative 8, right? Then from here we can divide both sides by negative 2. We can find an expression in y to be what? 4. So therefore we can see that our values of x and y are 3 and 4 respectively. So that's the end of this lesson, please do well to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future contents.